his roster. And Mac was an unbelievable talent. He could write, produce, perform, and so much more. But even that is often not enough to turn someone into a star, let alone a legend. What set Mac apart, I think, is that he was genuinely interested and enthusiastic, perhaps to an unhealthy degree, about what he did. He seemed to be unflinchingly nice and charismatic, a genuine human who endeared himself to everyone he met. But the thing that made him truly great, the thing that allows his name to echo from this generation to the next and beyond, is that he just wanted it more. He wasn't afraid or embarrassed or too cool to say he wanted to be great. And he didn't just want to be great for himself. He wanted to be great for you, for me, and for everyone else. He also saw greatness in other people, wanted it just as badly for them, even when they did not want it bad enough for themselves. Life, to him, was something you had to live to its fullest potential. I met Mac a few times. We didn't have a close relationship, though I have no doubt that between our mutual friends and my profile as a writer, he was aware of me in some regard. He was complimentary when I reviewed his second album for Vibe, which I appreciated, especially because it wasn't the most flattering review. And since he seemed to have a long career ahead of him, I always assumed one day I would write something substantial about him. I certainly didn't know it would be this. Working on this book was an unbelievable challenge. Mac was an endlessly fascinating character, someone whose perspective on life interested me as much as his art. He seemed to have grown up in public and was open about many of his struggles. But when he died on September 7th, 2018, I, like many others, felt it was a terrible tragedy. He had just released the best album of his career, Swimming, and there were still so many questions unanswered. Still, while I thought I was familiar with his story, it wasn't until I began traveling back and forth to Pittsburgh, spending time walking the very same streets he grew up on, and talking to his close friends, that so much of this book started to come together. Even then, though, it was difficult. The pain of having lost him was still so raw for many, and the challenge of asking people questions was something that I, for one of the first times in my life, had moral concerns about. Too soon, I seemed to keep telling myself. It's too soon. But then I noticed something. Despite what my inner voice was telling me, the people I had reached out to for interviews kept wanting to talk. The pain of losing their friend, Mac Miller, was still fresh, but they wanted to share. They had all these memories, all these experiences, all this life that they had lived with him. Not all of it was good. Some of it was bad, and of course some of it existed in that vast space in between. However, the thing that really drove home how important this book was to write, how essential this book was to write, came on the 1-year anniversary of Malcolm's passing. That night, there was a party held in his honor. It was in Pittsburgh, and his longtime DJ, Clockwork, was manning the decks. All proceeds were being donated to the Mac Miller Fund, a charity that supports programming, resources, and opportunities to youth from underserved communities, helping them recognize their full potential through exploration in the arts and community building. After spending the duration of the party inside the venue, enjoying the music as one is wont to do, I ventured outside and began interviewing many of Mac's fans. These were Macheads, as they are colloquially known, some new, some old, but all of them sharing between them an undying passion for Mac Miller and his art. Perhaps because of the date, it being the anniversary of his death, emotions were running high, and the stories being shared moved me to such a degree that, till this day, still reverberate. These were stories about how Mac's music had saved their lives, how at their lowest moments, when they felt that they were at the end of their rope, they heard his voice, something he said, something